Voyager 1, the legendary space probe launched almost 50 years ago, has recently exhibited behavior that is nothing short of astonishing. It appeared to turn back. Of course, not in a literal, physical sense. It remains over 15 billion miles from Earth, far beyond the point of return. But the data it transmitted hinted at something never seen before, a shift in trajectory or attention. This unexpected occurrence has left scientists both amazed and deeply unsettled. Something out there caused Voyager to reorient itself in a way previously unrecorded, suggesting the vast universe beyond our solar system may not be as cold and silent as we assumed. Instead, it might be watching us. Be for this moment, NASA. Engineers have been trying to solve a peculiar issue with Voyager 1's telemetry data. For months, the probe was sending back unintelligible noise strings of zeros and erratic signals that made no sense. At first, this was attributed to its aging systems. After all, Voyager was never intended to function for this long. Then unexpectedly and without any correction from Earth, the signal stabilized. Yet it didn't resume its previous mode of communication. The spacecraft's high-gain antenna was now slightly off-axis, not directly pointing at Earth anymore. The deviation was minimal, almost too subtle to notice, but it was intentional. When researchers analyzed the data, factoring in transmission delays due to distance, they realized something extraordinary had occurred. Voyager had rotated part of its sensor suite toward the region of space it had just passed through. This was entirely out of character. The probe had never made such an autonomous adjustment without instructions from mission control. Its primary functions had always centered on conserving energy, maintaining its antenna locked on Earth, and continuing on a straight trajectory. This deviation marked a significant break from that behavior. Whatever Voyager had encountered or whatever had passed near it seemed to prompt it to look back. The consequences of this subtle reorientation echoed through the astrophysical community. Could Voyager have encountered something in interstellar space that provoked this reaction? A notion once dismissed as science fiction began to gain credibility. Shortly after realigning its sensors, the probe started transmitting a low-frequency signal buried within its normal data stream. Initially dismissed as background interference, further filtering revealed an organized pattern. This wasn't the usual telemetry: no temperature, radiation, or plasma data. Instead, the signal had a rhythm. It wasn't consistent, yet it wasn't random either. Spectral analysis ruled out natural cosmic sources like pulsars. The signal was something else entirely. It appeared unique. As the scientific world tried to decode its origin, a chilling realization took hold. This anomaly defied conventional physics. It reignited debate around the Fermi paradox. If intelligent life is so probable, why haven't we encountered it? Voyager 1's recent behavior cast this question in a darker light. Perhaps the silence of space isn't the absence of life, but rather an intentional quiet. Maybe someone or something is listening, observing, without responding directly. What's even more unsettling is the nature of the signal itself. It bore similarities to Voyager's own communication protocols, echoes of Earth-based mathematics, manipulated and sent back in a mirrored form. It wasn't a full reply, but something far more cryptic, like a breadcrumb. It suggested understanding, but withheld intent. This discovery rattled even the most seasoned scientists at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Voyager 1 appeared to respond to an external presence not just by collecting data, but by shifting its orientation to examine something previously unseen. This sparked a wave of inquiry. Instruments that had consistently shown stable cosmic background levels suddenly began registering minor fluctuations. Interstellar hydrogen densities changed. The strength of the magnetic field warped subtly. Yet there was nothing visible, lonely, empty space. And still, Voyager had reacted as if it sensed something that eluded our instruments. This moment provoked both scientific analysis and philosophical reflection. If Voyager, built with 1970s analog technology, could detect or even elicit a response from an unknown entity, What does that imply about the nature of intelligence across the universe? While the data remained ambiguous, its implications were profound. This wasn't merely about first contact, it was about being noticed. For years, scientists operated under the quiet assumption that the vastness of space protected us, that our outbound signals would take millennia to reach other stars. And even then, the chance of being intercepted was negligible. But Voyager wasn't only broadcasting, it also carried a physical message, the golden record, etched with Earth's sounds, languages, and images, an invitation to whomever might find it. Now, it has traveled farther than any human-made object. And what if that invitation was received? The concern wasn't immediate danger or invasion. It was more insidious, the unsettling idea that we are not alone, and worse, that we may not matter. That something received our message and responded not with dialogue, but with subtle motion. That small change, Voyager adjusting its gaze, was enough to redefine the mission and its meaning. Inside mission control, pride turned into a quiet sense of dread. The spacecraft that once symbolized human curiosity now felt like a thread unraveling, or a mirror reflecting something unknowable. This wasn't an attack, nor a greeting, it was a question, and perhaps a judgment. Voyager had long been the solitary narrator of a vast journey, sending tales of magnetic storms and cosmic radiation. But now it wasn't just observing, it was reacting. Something made it look back. And that shift changed how we view not only the probe, but ourselves. Some scientists began quietly speculating about artificial origin structures or signals born from intelligence. Others remained skeptical, cautious of confirmation bias and false patterns. Still, they couldn't deny that Voyager's change in behavior followed that strange signal. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the signal vanished. Whatever had passed by, or whatever Voyager had crossed paths with, was gone. The silence returned, but it wasn't the same silence as before. It was a silence that hinted something had noticed us and had moved on. The instruments recorded fluctuations in cosmic rays and interstellar hydrogen, forming a subtle directional flow like an invisible current. It was as if Voyager had entered a stream not of matter, but of influence. And then, the signal returned, slightly altered. Its rhythm now resembled musical overtones, cascading like a carefully composed sequence. When visualized, the pulses resembled fractals, intricate, recursive patterns. This wasn't random noise. It was intentional, elegant. Someone or something with aesthetic sense had designed it. The signal vanished again. The prevailing question now wasn't whether this was artificial. That debate had shifted. Now scientists asked, why had it stopped? Was this a test, an experiment, a warning, or simply curiosity? Voyager continued its journey, but it was no longer just a machine. It had become a participant in an unspoken cosmic dialogue, one that left Earth grappling with more questions than answers. Efforts intensified to reanalyze decades of Voyager's data. New algorithms were employed to search for patterns we may have previously missed. What had we already revealed about ourselves? Had we unknowingly left a breadcrumb trail? A team in the Netherlands made a stunning discovery while reviewing the signal's structure. When translated through advanced frequency-to-data visualization, the pulses aligned with the Fibonacci sequence, forming a spiral pattern that appears throughout nature, from seashells and galaxies to DNA. This was either a profound coincidence or an encoded message or shared mathematical language of the cosmos. Yet no further message came, no voice explained its meaning. Voyager continued on, its trajectory now shadowed by the weight of having been noticed. It wasn't fear of annihilation that troubled the scientific world, it was the unsettling possibility that we had already been categorized, cataloged, perhaps even dismissed. Not enemies, not allies, just an observed species, deemed unworthy of further interaction. As the implications spread, intelligence agencies increased surveillance of space communications. Satellites were redirected to scan the sector. Voyager last turned toward. Public knowledge remained limited, but whispers grew. Amid the noise, one fact stood unchallenged. Voyager 1 had reacted to something, and that something had responded, then disappeared. And so, we are left with a new paradigm. We are not alone, but worse, we may not be relevant. Not feared, not welcome, just noted. Like a scientist glancing into a Petri dish, a glance. And then, perhaps indifference. Now, every new transmission from Voyager is studied with almost religious intensity. Every lag in data arrival prompts analysis. Yes, the probe is old. Yes, it may fail any day. But the deeper fear is that the silence that may soon follow won't be due to malfunction, but because it has been silenced. Voyager 1, once the bold ambassador of humanity, may now serve a different role, a sentinel warning. It has passed into realms we did not even imagine existed. And when it looked back, it did not report what it saw, it reported what saw it.